Welcome to A News. I'm Omer Taslim, and you're watching Turkey's Diplomacy. Today on the program, we'll focus on the deepening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where more than 51,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces. Joining me are Daily Sabah's editorial coordinator, Dr. Mehmet Çelik, and senior political analyst, Javed Rana. We'll analyze the war's political motives, international complicity, and the fight for Palestinian dignity and self-determination.
Local reports from the Gaza Strip indicate that more than 11,000 people remain missing since the outbreak of war on October 7, 2023. Among them are individuals believed to have died under the rubble or whose fates remain unknown to this day. The Strip is suffering from a severe shortage of equipment needed to remove debris, as most heavy machinery has been either destroyed or rendered inoperable due to a lack of fuel. According to the United Nations, around 92% of homes in the Gaza Strip, equivalent to approximately 436,000 houses, have been destroyed or damaged as a result of continuous bombardment. The United Nations estimates suggest that removing the rubble left by the war, estimated to exceed 50 million tons, may take more than 2 decades given the current lack of necessary resources. While some Palestinian families continue to return to their destroyed homes, many are forced to live atop the ruins of their houses, where the bodies of their loved ones remain buried beneath the rubble.
بدنا عن أحسن شيء اللي يعينوا اللي هي الجثث من تحت الركام، هذه يعني حرمة المية دفنه. هذا بدنا نتأمل يعني يجي يعينونا الركام من هنا ويشيلوا الشهداء. أنه تحللوا يا ويلي هالقيت تحللوا.
Humanitarian organizations warn that the delay in removing rubble and recovering bodies not only causes immense suffering for the affected families but also poses a looming health and environmental catastrophe in one of the most densely populated areas in the world.
Welcome back to the program. Dr. Mehmet Çelik, welcome to the program as well.
Thank you, Omar.
Dr. Mehmet, we've been discussing the Israeli issue, the Israeli war, the butchering of Palestinians, the killing of Palestinians, the displacement of Palestinians. Over the past few weeks and months, we've been seeing that the war has worsened in the occupied Gaza Strip. And what's more important right now is how Israel has been butchering those Palestinians. But today's discussion, I want to start off by asking you about the moral and legal responsibility of states that are involved, who are complicit in these attacks, in this genocide, who have been providing weapons to Israel. These countries are United States, Italy, Germany, the UK. These are the most important and the main countries who have been providing weapons. So I want to ask you about their moral and legal responsibilities. What sort of actions should they be taking now instead of killing the Palestinians?
Omar, this is a very good question, and I think we need to look at the bigger picture and the historical background of the relationship between these states, between Western Europe, between the UK, US, and some of the other European countries, as well as the Israeli side. Now, if we look at today's events and just simply put this as some states remaining idle in the face of a genocide taking place in Gaza by the Israelis, that would be, in a way, incomplete picture for us to fully understand what is taking place right now. We need to go back all the way to late 19th century, early 20th century with the Balfour Declaration, for example. After that, we need to come to the wars in 1948, the Nakba, what happened there. And the whole world remained idle when this was taking place. We need to move forward to 90s, 2000s, the previous wars on Gaza, and finally the genocide taking place right now. Now, if this was a state acting alone in the Middle East, doing a genocide against a number of people, a certain section of the society within their country, or if this was a civil war, then the whole international community would intervene. The reason why there is a lack of action against Israel is that from the first days of the establishment of this state, as I said, going back to 19th century or late 19th century, earlier 20th century, this is an organized event. And without the support of states like the UK, like the United States, like Germany or other countries in the Western Europe, this wouldn't have been possible for Israel to, first of all, establish a state in the occupied territories, establish illegal settlements, have a Nakba taking place in 1948, and all the way to today's event after October 7, targeting civilians, killing children, babies, and all the unarmed individuals, Palestinians in the occupied territories, expanding the occupation to West Bank and Ramallah and other places, continuing to build illegal settlements in the occupied territories, expanding the war to Lebanon, continuing to expand the war into Syria, threatening regional stability. I mean, if this was only a work of one country trying to destabilize the region and occupy other countries' lands, then we would say, what is the all regional actors are doing? What is the international community doing in the face of such atrocity taking place? But because this is an organized event supported by the United States, supported by the Western European countries, politically, economically, militarily, and also in terms of media propaganda, it is hard to stand against this event when it is the most powerful that are backing this genocide. So I think that complicity is not just inactive or a moment of idleness coming from the Western countries. They are supporting Israel by weapons, as you said, but this is not just the case in terms of establishing an international narrative. This has been the case for the past 75 years. The occupation, the killing, the violence against Palestinians didn't start on October 7th. So I think we need to put this in a bigger perspective, in a bigger context, and we should understand the background of this relationship between Israelis and the Western European countries. Israel is not a natural state to begin with, but let's accept some facts now that the state is now established, and the international community, many countries recognizes it. And even Türkiye says, if we are going to accept a two-state solution, it needs to be based on 1967 borders. But Israel doesn't even want to accept that. So I think because of this support that it gets, it will go all the way. And this complicity and supporting this genocide, international law, international human rights, all these regimes are meaningless because the powerful is exercising all it can, regardless of being a just action or an unjust action.
Mehmet, just to follow up on that answer, I want to ask you another question. These are the countries who, after the World War, were championing, democracy, free rights, humanitarian values, and they also said that it should be a rules-based international order. So, don't their opinions and their actions conflict when they talk about these things, but end up doing what we see in the occupied Gaza Strip?
Well, I think rule in today's world, when the rule of the powerful goes, in the game in the international arena, when the powerful sets the rules, democracy, human rights, freedoms, they go as long as they're aligned with the interests of the powerful. I mean, we saw what happened in Iraq, in Afghanistan. We saw even before then in Bosnia, when the international community just watched a genocide taking place. We see what is happening even in Ukraine, because Russia is a superpower. It's able to take over a big mass of land from the Ukrainian side, and so that the two powerful sides don't come into a confrontation, it is being avoided in a way, right? So I think it is not a just world, and as Mr. Erdogan always says, a fair world is possible, but the international system itself was designed in a way to serve, like UN Security Council, for example. It's the 5 members that decide on the fate of millions of others around the world. And it is not a representative of the world population. Africa is not is represented in the UN Security Council. There is no Muslim country representing the Muslim community in the Security Council, for example. So all the decisions are made based and through an already unjust system. The system itself needs to be reformed so that when we talk about freedom, when we talk about democracy and human rights, there will be the protectors of those, not just those who propagate it when that propagation or that propaganda about democracy and human rights is aligned with their interest. And we see it very often, very frequently when it comes to Islamophobia, for example. We see a double standard. When it comes to terrorism, for example, we see a double standard. When it comes to killings of civilians, I mean, Gaza is a clear and very sheer example of that double standard. When it comes to media coverage, we see that hypocrisy, for example.
Javed, I want to turn my attention to you, and I want to ask you that the United Nations has said that the Israeli actions that we've seen over the past year and the past few months and all those years, these amount to an apartheid and genocide. How are you analyzing the Israeli blockade against the Palestinians?
Well, Israel being an apartheid state is a foregone conclusion. There are dozens of laws in Israel which clearly discriminate Palestinians. Palestinians cannot vote in any general elections in the occupied Palestinian territory, which is known now Israel. Now, again, the bigger issue is if Israel doesn't want to create another state for Palestinians, they are not even giving them equal rights. Now, they are maybe few Palestinians who've been made citizens of Israel. They can probably give their voting right. But so far as millions others are concerned, they don't have a voting right. So that is just a tip of the iceberg. But in a bigger picture, in their social fabric, there is a clear discrimination. There are laws which have been made by the Israeli parliament which discriminate Palestinians. So far, the apartheid structure is concerned, I think it is clearly a foregone conclusion. But the world is not accepting it. It's just like a South African like situation. As much as South Africa had that apartheid structure, and in a similar fashion, it is Israel which has apartheid structure. I think nobody has understood it better than the South Africa, because that is why it had gone to the International Court of Justice with the complaint that this apartheid structure goes much beyond, and it is conducting a genocide in the Palestinian territory, though I believe that the OIC should have been the petitioner, but they have not raised this issue. I think in our general communications, whenever we give reference of Israel, we must use the word of apartheid, because by using appropriate terms which reflects the situation on the ground, we actually create an imagination among the minds of the people with whom we communicate that what does Israel stand for. And I think to begin with, it was apartheid structure long ago. Now the second phase we have already seen, as from ethnic cleansing to genocide,